Okay guys, we are back at it again here. Going to be working on this car and trying to get this thing sorted out. Plan for today is to take the new engine, or the new to me engine, and assemble it with all of the good stuff from here, and then some of the new stuff that I've got for it too. Going to be reusing the heads pretty much as they are, just bolt them on. I do have new gaskets, but that's for another project. But I do have the thicker timing cover gasket, so I have that ready to go. Also have a new camshaft. This is the Statima ST5. It's like the biggest one ZZP has for these engines off the shelf. You can get better grinds, I think, but this is going to be, I think in today's world, pretty mild, but should be better than what was in here. It's going to make more power. You can see the cam specs here. It's got the duration is 230 on the intake, 224 in the exhaust, with a 117 lobe separation angle. So about a lot more duration than the old one. Not as much lift, but with these engines, you want the duration, not the lift, because at a certain point, lift doesn't actually get you more power just because the head can't flow it. So I'm going to be using that here for this. And walking over here, we have the new engine. So I could probably actually go ahead and start unwrapping this thing. I wrapped this up in saran wrap when I was in Michigan for the shipping. This thing is a L67 out of a Bonneville. So the car had like 137,000 miles on it. It wasn't really totaled, so usually that's not the best indicator, but it spun freely. The walls look good, so we'll take a look at this. I've got to replace basically everything on this. I've got to take the timing cover off and replace it with mine, and also need to actually check mine to make sure the oil pump isn't too damaged from all that shrapnel that was in there. So we're going to go ahead and unwrap this thing. Okay, I got this thing completely unwrapped now. Yeah, this is looking good, just the way I left it. I don't see any rust here now, so the WD-40 spray down trick worked pretty good. So I'm gonna get this one on the engine stand, take that one over there off. Let's get to it. Alright, so I'm getting ready to get this thing disassembled. I put on a jump oil pan just so I can put this thing in the ground afterwards. Nothing else I need in the bottom end at all. Do have to pull off the timing gear as well as the motor mounts. Head studs have to come off too. Alright, let's get this gear off here. Cool. Oh, that came off nice. Now a little tip for you guys who are doing an L67 swap to a L36 car. Basically, if you're not going to be using the harmonic balancer for an L67, you've got to use the one for the L36. It's the Series 2 naturally aspirated. Series 3 is probably the same deal too, but this way, you have the shorter bolt instead of the very long one that you'll see later on. Right, these things don't just come off. You've got to like really. Oh, this one might. That one came off nicely actually. All right, I lied. That one came off nicely. All right, that one's on there. So what I do with these. I'm gonna get the pry bar for this. Gonna pry out this a little bit, try not to scratch it up a bit here. See if it'll, oh, okay. That came off pretty easily actually. Usually you've gotta heat this up to get it off, so I'm gonna give it a little bit of heat just because it's pretty tight up against that edge there. Just to make this a little bit easier. I think between the two evils of banging on it with a pry bar or giving it heat, I think heat is probably the less destructive mechanism for removing this. Alright, it's got to be pretty hot now. Oh yeah, you can see us smoking. Nicely. So with that, I had salvaged all the parts needed off this old engine and was ready to start tearing down the new one. All right, so I've got the old camshaft out, pulled out all the old lifters. These all look pretty good, actually. Currently debating whether or not I'm going to reuse these lifters because I've had so many issues with the aftermarket lifters. These ones seem okay. The rollers seem fine. There is some wear in these things. I don't want to regret doing this, though, so I'm going to see if I've got lifters for this thing somewhere. Maybe I can piece together a good set out of these. Be right back. All right, so sorry for the mess on the table here. Found the boxes of lifters I bought here, so I have a set of 4 here and a set of 6 here, actually. I need a total of 12 lifters, so I have 2 shy of a brand new set. Now, I could use these lifters here. These are the same lifters as both of these. This is the set I pulled out of the car down in Atlanta on Power Tour. And I know for sure some of these were making some noise. And I think it's going to be too risky to run these as well as those over there. These are the ones I just pulled out of the car. Without taking these apart, there's not a lot you can do, I don't think, to see what's good, what's bad, aside from looking at the rollers. You know, trying to find something that sticks out. I don't know. I don't know what to look for, to be honest. I think what I'm going to do here is just buy another two more lifters for this thing. I'm not going to reuse the stock lifters again. I'll just wait the 2 days, hopefully do all this right. There's so much money in this project right now that there's no sense risking it for $100 on lifters, which, by the way, 2 of these cost $100. So hopefully running these lifters with the 2 new ones that are going to come in the mail will be good enough for this engine with this camshaft. So at this point tonight, I am going to call it a night here. There's not much else I can do here until those lifters come in, so that's going to be like 2 days. But we'll get through it. We're going to make out better in the long run, I think. For this is going to be a better engine. It's going to be a better camshaft. And it should make a little bit more power, not a whole lot. I've heard that, you know, even just changing the camshaft a little bit does like almost nothing. So yeah, we'll catch back up later. It's going to be a couple days. All right, stay tuned. Alright, so I've got the double roller on here now, so the timing chain is all set. So since I've got this at 0 degrees of retard and advance on the timing gear, so it's going to be used the way that the cam manufacturer intended. All right, so next thing I need to do is get the timing cover on, clean up all this gasket surface, and get the oil pan on too. So get that started. So I'm going to go ahead and take this thing apart, get all the junk out of it. Hopefully it's in good shape, and we'll go catch up from there. Okay, so I got the oil pump off of this thing, and the housing's looking a little worn, but I don't think it's bad enough that I can't run this thing still. So I may have spoken too soon on that, actually. As I tore this thing apart, it became clear that this pump was pretty much shot. So at this point, this left me to using the old timing cover that was on the engine I just took off, because that pump blows a lot better. And then to do that, I just need to swap over the front pump plate onto the new one, or the pump cover, because it's machined down for the timing chain. Alright, so I went ahead and got this thing cleaned up here. One thing I did need to do, because I've got this ZZP thick timing cover gasket, is it came out a little bit above here. There's a bit of a ridge there for it. So I went ahead and just cleaned it, cut it nice and flush with that, or about as flush as it's going to get. Did a little bit back here too. You can see there's some RTV still sticking out here, but this is about ready to get installed now, so I can put the pan on this thing, and then we can go ahead and do some more work here, get this thing going. So this is coming together, not the way I expected it to, but it's coming together, and I think it's going to be a good runner. Alright, so let's go ahead and get the oil pan on. Got to clean out the old oil pan, got to reuse this one. It's got my oil fittings on it. I'm sure it's filled with trash right now, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So since this engine came out of the junkyard, and I have no idea how long it had been sitting there, a couple months probably for sure, I wanted to see if I could try and prime this thing to, one, make sure there's oil getting to the lifter bores, because I'm pretty sure that's why the other engine failed. And then also, I want to make sure that those bearings get oil too, because with the junkyard motor, it's been sitting for a while, so it doesn't have that oil there probably. So what I did here is I basically assembled the whole bottom half of the motor, threw an oil filter on it, and just started pumping the crap out of the engine until it started pumping oil. Alright guys, it is Saturday now. It's a couple days later. Lifters finally came in. I've got all the lifters now soaking in this oil bath. So at this point I could get ready to put the heads in the car, which means tapping the threads for the head studs, so that way you can get those down all the way into the bottom of the stud area. They do go into water jackets, so I put RTV on these when I put them in. People use sealant, RTV. I've had no issues with red RTV, and I feel a bit more comfortable with that than I do with red sealant, and that's worked out pretty well for me in the past. Then with that, I can go ahead and start putting the head gaskets on. I didn't get footage of that, but they're new MLS gaskets from ZZP. They seem to be working okay for this. And here we go, putting the heads on. So since I had to use a timing cover, that's a stock timing cover, I couldn't reuse my old one because the oil pump itself was pretty torn up in that housing. So as a consequence of that, I have to run the stock heater core elbows instead of my thread tapped water line there. Because I don't have a TIG welder to weld aluminum, so I'm kind of limited with what I have. So I decided to run the coolant elbow, and I had to make a bracket for it here to make it actually bolt in and hold into the car. And then from there I could go ahead and put a hose on it and get that inside of there. Basically what I did is I drilled a hole in a little bracket here, and then another one as well. Basically made a crow's foot with one of it, and one of them actually bolts it down and holds it in. I didn't get much footage of it as a completed product, but here you can see it in the car after it's all done. And it seems to be working fairly well so far. That's good. I think that's ready to go there in that end. Okay. So now what? I'll start with the exhaust manifolds, I guess. Okay, so here is the old turbo for a side-by-side comparison. And this one has a 62 millimeter turbo, billet wheel, T4 size. It's like a GT 3570 something knockoff. So it's divided flange. You know, it's not a bad turbo. It's pretty good, especially for a 3000 with a stock cam. Now that I've got the SC5 here, and I'm already at this, and I could use this turbo for something else, I'm going to be switching over to this one. This is a GT45, full-on GT45. It's the typical 67 millimeter turbo, twin scroll housing, a little bit bigger on the exhaust side, as you can see here. So as you can see here, it's a little bit bigger on the exhaust side, and compared to the other one, the wheel is a lot bigger too as well. You can probably see through that saran wrap. Sorry, I already wrapped that thing up. And this thing should be a lot more capable, but it's going to have a little bit higher of a spool time. And what I do like about this is it has these little notches here in the flange, so you can actually get to it, unlike some of the other ones out there. So, well, actually, this one's so big it needs the notches compared to this one. This one has nothing like that at all on it. So this one's gonna go in the car. I tried putting this on a while back, but it needed a lot of work to make this fit in here. Might as well go at it right now, because like I said, I could use this one for something else. So I'm going to go ahead and put my gaskets and my flanges on here and get this thing ready to go in there and bolt it down, see how it fits up, and see if we can make this thing work. So switching to this bigger turbo meant mocking up the downpipe again and basically cutting it apart to try and make it fit for the new turbo, because it's in a different spot. Even though it's a very similar turbo, things just didn't quite line up where you expect them to do, so it took a lot of finagling to make this thing actually fit properly. Eventually just had to cut up the pipe itself to see where it would want to sit, and then from there I could figure out how much it would need to be modified to make it work. Okay, so I've got the new turbo in here right now. That's kind of mocked up. This is where it's going to sit, I think. And here's where the exhaust is right now. You can see we have, but that's about a 3/8 inch gap or so to tack on there on the top, and looks like it's a little bit wider in the bottom. So I'm going to try and get a piece cut for that. So this is just kind of the process of making this all fit. This definitely wasn't my prettiest work, but it did the job. Alright guys, I've got the new turbo in here finally with the new downpipe, or just modified. Not gonna lie, this thing did not turn out pretty. I'm having a rough time. I want to blame the generator for this, so I'm gonna pull out all the excuses in the book for these terrible looking welds. But the important part is it's sealed, it's all lined up now, and it's fitting against the turbo here too, so I'm feeling fairly good about that now. That turbo is just, it is massive in here compared to the old one. And it's not that much bigger on the compressor wheel. I think even the exhaust wheel is just a little bit bigger, but the housings themselves are pretty huge on this thing. So this thing should make some good power, I think. We'll see what this does. I feel pretty good about it, and hopefully it sounds cool too. Every turbo I've had has sounded cooler than the last one. Even the first one sounded amazing. So hopefully this one lives up to the hype of that and keeps that trend going. And yeah, this is looking pretty good. I'm not upset about this yet. So once that new gasket comes in, I can wrap that part up here. Alright guys, it is Thursday now, a couple days later. I finally have some of the parts I need to finish this thing. I have the new turbo flange gasket, so this will go in here today. And then I also have a heater core hose that will fit over this elbow, because it's a pretty big elbow. And I'm thinking right now I could just have this thing go all the way into that fitting over there, because it is a larger fitting. But even so, this is still pretty large, and it looks kind of ridiculous because it's so big. It will be kind of hidden behind the AC compressor, so once I get that in there, I'll see how that fits. So to do this, I've got to take off these V-bands on here, here, and here, and here. And then I might do some wrapping on this thing here too as well, to just keep the heat out of that. And then I'll put on the new gasket. I gotta tell you guys though, this turbo makes me really hate T4 flanges and really any T whatever flange. It's gonna be tight. Those bolts are just impossible to get to. I don't know how people are doing that, whether they're doing like studs welded to the turbo. That's the only thing that can make sense to me. But I think in the future, like all my turbos will have to have like some sort of V-band on the inlet side, because this is just not workable at all. But eventually I got this thing in here and I was able to get this thing bolted down and sealing up properly. Alright, so I am pretty much wrapped up here for the most part. I'm running into one issue though, which is a real bummer because this is the last part this car needs before it's done. This output of the turbo is just such an odd size. The last one was 2.5 inches. I assume this was 3 inches. It's not 3 inches. It is like 3.4 inches, which is like the weirdest size I've ever seen. So that's not great. 3.4 inches, man. What? Like, come on, dude. Really? All right. So aside from that connector here, the car is ready to go. I can't think of anything I've missed so far. Everything looks good. So have some fluid in here. Got some coolant in it. I'll keep filling it up as it gets warm. But I just want to hear the car make noise now to make sure that this thing is actually good. And once I know that that's all set, we can put this on here and put the bumper on and get this thing wrapped up. There is a whole new camshaft in here, so I'm not sure what this is going to look like. I'm pretty sure the startup table is going to be fine. Okay, that battery is pretty freaking dead apparently, so I'm at 64%, so maybe this will fire up. Maybe. I think this battery is pretty dead though. Okay. It is so quiet. That is so much more quiet than it usually is. Alright, oil pressure looks good. Alright, take a look outside. It's not really learning anything yet, I don't think. That feeling is all over the place. Yeah, dude, I think this is going good. All things considered, this is going well. This thing is still connected, so that's cool. Let's see what it learned so far. It pulled fuel out, it says, so that's interesting. All right, so I think I'm going to call it there for now. It's running fairly well. I think I've got some things to work out here still. It is misfiring a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and just make sure all of the spark plug wires are tight and all of that's working well. I was hoping for more of a lope from this cam, but it is what it is. It's a bit disappointing, but I'm sure it's going to make some good power though. This pulls a lot harder than it used to on low boost. Got some smells, man. Got some smells. AFRs look good. Oil looks good. So hopefully we're not smoking or anything like that. Just trying to take it easy. I'm gonna kick the fans on just to be safe. Yeah, I think it's working good, man. It pulls so much harder than it used to. Oh baby, I cannot believe how much harder it pulls right now. That is ridiculous. It's so smooth right now too. Like once you get to like 3,000 RPM, it just wants to go. It wants to take off. All right, this might be a cop here, so. All right. Man, this is going well. This is going really well. This is still data logging too, which is pretty sweet. That never happens. It just always, I'm smoking a little bit. It always loses connectivity on me all the time. It is. Oh my God, I can't believe how fast this is now. On like no boost, it just freight trains at 5,000 RPM. That power band is ridiculous now. Holy crap. It doesn't give you much down low at all, but once you get up there, it's like, okay, let's go. Yeah, let's go. Got some turbo lag, man. That's what this is. It's a turbo lag. It does get going though, so that's cool. Okay, I think I've got a vacuum leak again, and I know what it is already. I've got the zip tie down one of my hoses that likes to pop off all the time. So I'll have to go take care of that. If I put the clutch in, it just idles to like 2,000 RPMs because it's got so much air coming into it. So it's trying to bring it down, but it really can't because of that. It needs a zip tie on it, and I don't think I have any in the car, but I'll check. But you know, otherwise this is going much better than I anticipated. I thought I for sure would have a lot of issues with this thing, so yeah, this is going well. Let me jump back to the house now. So for anybody who's curious, this is what happens. This little thing right here likes to blow itself off of that. Got a zip tie down there to keep it on. Burn some oil off there right now. That ain't looking good. I might have to replace that AN fitting. So yeah, the car is doing good. It's working better than I thought. I'll worry about that later on. We'll see what kind of trouble we can get into in this thing. So that's going to do it for this video, I think. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you in the next one.